Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
What if you had 40 minutes to talk to someone you're friends with about anything in the world with the whole world watching? What would you talk about? Well, we're going to find out today on another episode of Dr. Jacalyn Unscripted. Joining me is my friend, colleague, team member, and mentor, Mr. Roland Friedel. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hello, Dr. Jacalyn. Great to see you again, and I'm happy to be back.
Well, it's good to have you back, and we're going to get into what's been going on with you because obviously we can talk about anything in the world. So you're looking well, you're looking tan as usual, and I see how ghostly white I look next to you. So how do you keep up your tan?
How to keep up my tan? Well, I'm not sunbathing classically, you know, like somebody's going on vacation. I spend a lot of time as much as possible outside, so I do my sports outside. I try to work outside with my laptop, with my PC. So that's why I'm out. I'm most of the time I'm outside in nature. And that's why I get the tan.
Yeah, it's so funny because you can see that you're an outdoors person and I'm an indoor person. I rarely go out in the sun. I actually went out for a walk the other day and had on a huge hat and glasses, but I do love when the sun is out, and where I am in the world, it's getting very hot and it's sunny and people just seem to be in a happier place. So I feel like the weather has an impact on our moods. What do you think?
100%. You know, I spent the last almost 7 months in Italy. So like every winter I go south, and well, you know, in winter in South Europe, the weather is quite nice. It's not hot, but it's quite nice, you know. And all the people are outside, you know, young and old, all together. They're outside, they're communicating, they're having a chat together, they have a coffee together, whatever. So the streets are always crowded in the small villages, and they communicate together. And I think they're much more happier. I think it's one way. I think it's because of the sun. We know that the sunlight has a positive influence on your vitamin D level, on your immune system, but it's also because they are outside, because the weather is nice, it's not raining or something like that. They communicate a lot with other people and friends, and this has also a positive impact on their mood. So I love to be in the south in winter time because the people are, yeah, they had a much better mood. And I was really shocked when I came back. I'm now in Austria. When I came back to Austria, and I had to ride a tramway to go to my dentist, and people are very, I don't know, like a face, you know, I wouldn't say angry, but most of them look very depressed and not the smile on the face like I'm used in the south. So yeah, the sun brings a positive mood. But I have to say, as you mentioned, Dr. Jacalyn, I don't like the sun in summer when it's very hot, because I don't like to get burned or something like that. 100% not. So in the summertime, I'm more north where it's cooler.
Yeah, you know what I think is interesting? We both feel the same way about summer, but there are people who live in places around the world that are cold most of the year. And to me, I can't imagine that. I'm not judging, but I can't imagine layer after layer after layer and getting into your vehicle and it's freezing cold and there's ice everywhere. But some people absolutely love it.
Yeah, 100%. And the point is, you know, but I've been living on an island for 14 years, a beautiful time, and actually left the island in summer, especially in August, because it was too hot for me. So I went to Austria in the mountains. But a lot of people fly in for vacation, you know, for just 1 or 2 weeks, and then they try to get all the sun, and then you can see them really like on a barbecue, you know, they're roasted in the sun, and then, you know, all these bubbles go out where they really get burned, you know, and That's dangerous. But people love the sun, or most people love to be in the sun. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I was growing up, I think I shared this, but I used to use baby oil and put it all over me, and then I'd spray sun in my hair. And it's so funny because if we knew then what we know now, and not even that it's that recent, how horrible that is for us. But at the same time, I don't like to wear sunscreen because that's filled with chemicals. So I'll wear clothes that have UV protection in them. As I mentioned, big hats, sunglasses, and I don't go out in the sun during the prime time when you can really get burned. But you see people out there just frying themselves and burning themselves, and we all know what waits ahead if we do that.
100%. No, it's not healthy. Man, I've been living on this island. I also was in the sun, but in the mornings and in the evenings, but not during the day. And when, especially, I don't know how it's in the US, in Florida or in California, but here in Europe, the people in the south, in Italy, in France, in Spain, Portugal, Greece, they try to hide during the hot season. So they're close to windows, they're dark inside, cool inside, totally different. Totally differently than we do, because we are so in the north, we are so hungry to have sun and warm and stuff like that. But what I do is I always watch animals. My dog, she loves to walk on the beach in the morning and the evening, but during the day, no way. She's always hiding in the shadow, trying to stay cool. And I think animals have a natural instinct what is good for them and not. So I just copy my dog.
I think that makes a lot of sense, actually. I really like that. I want to talk about animals since we can talk about anything. There's no script. I've been following this cockatoo bird on Instagram, and I really want to believe that it's true, that it's a real creature and it's not AI, but it's getting harder and harder to tell. But this specific bird, I think its name is Jacalyn, it does all these cool things, and it dances to music and it moves its head around, and it has this big, I think they call it an umbrella when its feathers come out, and it just makes you happy. And I read the comments and people are like, this makes me so happy. And then other people are like, is it real? It's not real. And so there's definitely a blurred line now when it comes to AI and animals, because we see all kinds of things. I saw this one thing I sent to one of our team members. It was another bird. It wasn't this one. And it was in a chair and it was getting its hair done. And they were clipping the feathers and wings. And then there was a cat in the same chair. And I thought, okay, that's not real, but it does make you smile. But it is getting harder to tell what's real and what's not real.
Yeah, when you see cute animals, it always produces a smile on your face, and yeah, absolutely. But it's true with AI, it's really different to find out if it's real or not, because I sometimes see also on Instagram a cat on dancing around, but it's clear it's not AI. Or there's a monkey couple talking like human beings, and when she's pissed off about him, or the other way around. It's funny, yeah. But I know that parrots, and especially cockatoos, they are very intelligent. Yeah, they can dance, and they can also copy languages and talking back, and well.
Yeah, very true. I've had a lot of dogs in my life, but I had one dog, and she was a Maltese, and her name was Eiffel, like the tower. And she would stand on her little back legs, and she would clap her paws, and she'd go up and down like she wanted something. And it was real. She did it. And I don't know if the Maltese breed does that, but it was so cute just to watch. So I'm sure there's some things that we see with animals that are true, and then others that are probably pushed to a limit. But especially with this bird, it just seems so happy, and it loves to dance, and it turns on Alexis, and it just starts dancing and doing all kinds of things. And I think as humans, if we could find the joy in simple movements too, that would be a good thing.
Yeah, I mentioned many times that all my dogs have been good coaches to me, especially when I'm stressed or I'm worrying, I mean, my dog at the moment, Aloha, she's lying down here. She's always relaxed, lives so in the present moment. She's not arguing about yesterday, what happened. We had a little discussion yesterday. She's not worrying about tomorrow. She's just in the present moment. So, and also when I'm worried or arguing or I don't know, in a bad mood, I look at her and said, why worry? Why worry? Enjoy the day. Enjoy the day. All is good.
Yeah, you know what? You and I are both coaches. We work with a lot of people in our career. And I love what you just brought up, and I'd like to talk about it. So There's an old saying, which is history repeats itself and we can learn from history. I'm not someone who likes to go back in history and bring up things from, well, 20 years ago you said this and 10 years ago you did that. But where is the line between what we need to look at and learn from history, maybe even about our own behavior? And then where do we let go and say, okay, I'm going to focus on the present? I think that's an interesting conundrum.
Absolutely. I learned the last year since I moved out from my house in Mallorca and moved into my motorhome the last 4 years, and being by myself, because at the same time my relationship status was single, so a lot of time reflecting myself is I live very in the present moment. That's what I learned, but I also, of course, reflect my own belief system, my behaving, and I do it because when it's a repeating pattern, when it happens more often, when it's repeating. So, okay, what's the point? What is not solved? What I didn't see? What I did, stuff like that. So when it's repeated, when the pattern is repeated, I look at it, and if it's just a single event, it happens, yeah, it's okay. But when it's repeated, like for example, always attracting the wrong ladies into my life, why? And I know it's about me. It's never about them. It's about me. Why it happened to me? And I found out why it was, and I changed this pattern or this belief system, and now it's different. So yeah, when it's as I said, when a pattern repeats or event repeats and repeats, I always ask myself why. Not why does it happen to me. It's not about feeling like how to say, oh my God, my English today. I'm sorry. Feeling like a victim. So it's not about why. It's not about why. So, but what can I learn from you? What can I learn from this event or from this person? Why does this person trigger me? What's the mirror? What's behind that? And yeah, it's important that we self-reflect. But on the other hand, I also think that we should overthink everything. I know a lot of people, they're overthinking all the time, and I think that's also not good.
It's hard to move on when you're overthinking. And so you just brought up something about your past and what you learned. And interestingly enough, I just ordered a copy of this book where I interviewed you. I haven't had a copy of this book in years. I think this is from 2021, and I finally have a copy. But where I want to go with it is, you've had some things that have happened to you in the past. I've had some things that have happened to me. And many times we believe we've worked on it, and then something may happen to bring up memories of it. And I think it's kind of a test to see how much work we actually did and how successful it was. So do you think it's possible when you go through something traumatic in your past, it could be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 plus years ago, do you think we ever truly get over it? And in terms of, okay, it happened, but I'm not going to give it any time or any significance? Or do you think it's always there in the back, influencing us? I can't speak English today either. What do you think?
That's an interesting question, Dr. Jacalyn. I was just reflecting myself, what happened to me in my childhood was really bad. But actually, I pushed it away for almost 45, 50 years. So I found it out when I was 54. Is it still coming up? Consciously not. But I strongly believe unconsciously that sometimes, especially because I'm a new relationship with a woman, and what happened to me was done by women, is I think unconsciously in some behaving or in some talks or communication, it comes out. Yes, I strongly believe. So meaning like that I don't trust 100% or stuff like that. Yeah, unconsciously, I think there's still something under the layer. Yeah. But I'm not a specialist, to be honest. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. But I can only talk about my own experience. Consciously not, but maybe unconsciously. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I recently, over the weekend, was clearing out some things and came across some letters and pictures and things from when I was a very small girl. And it kind of brought some things to light that I hadn't thought about, that I must have just dismissed or just put in the cobwebs of my brain. And you wonder why, why is this information coming forward? How did I not know that it was there? And then what am I going to do with it? And I think we can get sucked into this void where then we start to go back all those years and rethink what happened and maybe look at it in a different way, or we just acknowledge that it happened and look at how we've survived in a successful way since then. So I think you can go either one of two ways, because you never know what it is, what one item, what fact, what comment is going to take you backwards. And then it's hard to move forwards if you haven't developed the skill set or even acknowledging when things that are painful have happened.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Doctor, I had the advantage that as an educated trainer and a well-experienced trainer, I did a lot of education and studies in my career. And when I found out what happened to me over many years in my childhood, it was not a big trauma, because I know how to handle it. And from my experience, how I work with clients, and because I was working with people for example, in former Yugoslavia, who would fall apart in different countries like Slovenia, Croatia, Serbia, and so on. In this war, this was in 1990, so about 36 years ago. And when I started my training career, and I could work with some of these ladies that had been raped during the war, and some really suffered, and some overcame it very quickly because it was in their mindset, and it helped me many years after, when I found out what happened to me, to overcome it very quickly and not diving deep into. So hey, it was there. It happened. Yeah, many years ago it happened. I cannot change it afterwards. It's part of my past. Of course, it has a huge influence about my life. I am the person like I am right now, with all the positive and negative sides, of course. But I never built a trauma about it. I said, okay, it's done. And I made a therapy. I was 2 sessions, and I said, okay, I'm fine. I don't want to dig deeper. Why doesn't make sense to me. Let's keep going. Life is beautiful. The planet is beautiful. Why should I stuck into this? In the past, I don't believe digging in the past. I'm not a fan about it. It happened, yes, okay, but let's do it differently. Enjoying life, make the best out of it, and I leave the past behind. But with everything in my life, I never look back. To be honest, no, doesn't make sense for me to look back.
No, I'm like you. I think that one thing, because working with clients and hearing their stories and helping people process it, I think that there is something to be said when something happens. And by the way, this book that I just mentioned, it's all filled with stories, my story too, about how we've overcome adversity to be awesome. But I think that there is a logical process that takes place. And I am not somebody who is in computer software writing code, but I do remember when I took that class back in, I don't know, it was high school or college. I hated it. But there was something about if this, then that, right? So even in psychology, if this happened, then it's understandable how these things would happen. So if you have been traumatized or lived through something, and regardless of whether or not you were able to process the feelings, it's understandable that you might make some choices that reflect exactly the abuse that you suffered, because you may feel unworthy. You may have feelings of shame, or how did this happen to me? Or why did someone do this to me? Or how did they get away with it? And so therefore you might reach out making decisions that are not in your best interest. And that can ultimately affect your health, your relationships, etc. So I think that it's important also to say that, because I don't live in the past either, but if you look at your life, if you were put it on a timeline and you looked at when things happened that were really traumatizing or painful, sometimes it could be illegal what happens, right? What someone did to you, what someone did to me. And then you look at where we might have taken a road that wasn't the best, but we learned a lot of things from it. We might have gone on a different path and ultimately ended up exactly where we are today.
100%. And I remember when I found out what happened to me in the past, and then I, you mentioned the timeline. By the way, it happened during a timeline therapy by Ted James, by this American psychotherapist Ted James. It happened a timeline therapy in 2020 when I found out what happened to me. So I was reflecting, of course. okay, what was the impact of these events many years ago on my behaving all the years? And I found out that I didn't behave very probably most of the time, especially with ladies, because I didn't trust them. And so what I did, I called some of my ex-wives and girlfriends and said sorry. It's not as an excuse. I said, I understand. I just want to say sorry, because now I understand that I didn't behave well, because I thought I'm always the victim, but I was really not behaving well because of that what happened to me. And so I said, I just want to say sorry. And a few of them asked me, what happened? Why didn't you call me? And I said, okay, I found out what happened in the past, and now I know. And so I just want to say sorry. And I remember one of my we have been together, I don't know, over 40 years ago. And she said, Roland, thank you so much for calling me. You have been an asshole, yes, but thank you for letting me know what happened to you. And we are still friends, by the way.
Well, good for you, because that's really a breakthrough for you and for the other person, because the other person might have been thinking that it was her, that she did something. And even though we can acknowledge and say, well, someone didn't treat me the way that I want to be treated, we can also think, well, I wonder if I did anything to bring this out in the person, right? So I think it brings closure, and I think that's a good thing.
100%. I mean, we've always been in contact, but I always could feel there is something in between a little bit, but I never did yet that I behaved like I behaved, because I saw it totally differently from my point of view. And this was really healing and really eye-opening. And yeah, so that's why I called all the numbers I remembered, all the girls I remember. Haven't been a few. So, and I said, I'm just sorry. And I think that's one also for the audience who's listening. I think it's never ever too late to say sorry.
I really love that. I think that's one of the biggest problems, is that we don't take ownership for things. We don't take responsibility. We're not accountable. We want to blame it on everything and anything. And when you were sharing your story, it reminded me of a movie that Jack Nicholson was in. And I want to say As Good as It Gets, but I don't know if that's the movie. But he doesn't treat, I think it's Diane Keaton, he doesn't treat her well in the movie. And he actually starts contacting the women he was involved with before, and you see him going to the door and calling people, slamming the door in his face. And finally, one woman sits down with him and tells him, hey, this is what you did. This is how I felt. And I thought, wouldn't that be great if we all could just do that and at least have some kind of accountability and responsibility? But as a result, at least my interpretation from the movie is that he learned something and he was able to change his behavior.
Yeah, I remember this movie. Yeah, but actually, I think that's very important that for all of us that we really have self-responsibility and taking ownership of what we did, and it can always happen something, consciously or unconsciously. But I think this would be an absolutely game changer in the world if we say just I'm sorry. And another example, when you just haven't been aware of something, for example, you walk with someone, with a friend on the street or whatever, and then you push her or him or something happens, and not on purpose, but something happens, something breaks or the person is hurt. And I see so many times that people say, oh, it was not on purpose, And I say, it doesn't matter if it was on purpose. You haven't been aware, you haven't been aware of this. Just say, I'm sorry, even if it wasn't on purpose, but take responsibility and take ownership of it, because it happened. On purpose or not on purpose, I think it doesn't make any difference. Of course, on purpose it's even worse, no doubt on that. But just say sorry, because your attention have been somewhere else, and it happened. But most people don't do it. They always bring excuses why something happened. And I don't like this attitude.
So a question I have for you is, what if a person takes ownership of something and says, I'm sorry, I'm accountable? We don't go into a long explanation, because when you go into long explanations, people love to just dive through, pick it apart. But what if the other person doesn't want to accept the apology? What if they're not ready to accept the apology? Then what happens?
What can I do? I mean, I apologize from the bottom of my heart. And if the other person can take it, some person take more time. I give you an example. I remember when a friend of mine, we're not a close friend, but we know each other, when he smashed this huge stick on my dog's head, and since then she only has one eye, so he smashed her eye, and it was not on purpose, of course. And to be honest, I know it wasn't on purpose, it was an accident, but I couldn't see him for 4 months. So I experienced it myself. I know he apologized. It was not on purpose. He tried everything to pay doctor's bills, everything, but I couldn't see him for 4 months. It took me 4 months to let go. And now we are friends again, and we talk each other. But sometimes people need their time, and don't push them. Need their time. Apologize, let them go, and some people need time, and I experienced it myself. It took me 4 months.
Well, that's really understandable, and I appreciate you sharing that. There's a TV series called Dutton Ranch, and I just started watching the first episode, I think, of the second series, and there's a big fire, and you see all these animals, these cows, and I think I can't watch this because I don't know what's going to happen to the animals. Like, I could feel myself getting like upset, thinking that they might possibly burn. I will watch it, but I actually have to take a break. It's been a few days. So to see your own beloved animal, Aloha, getting injured like that, I remember when it happened. I mean, that is traumatic, and to an innocent animal that didn't ask for that. So here's my question, if you don't mind sharing, because I don't know what the answer is. What did you do to actually work through that? Because it wasn't just your own pain, it was her pain. So did you ever talk to her about it? I mean, I know that might sound crazy, but did you ever talk to Aloha and say, I'm sorry this happened, let's figure it out? Like, what happened?
It's an interesting question. I was thinking when it happened, in the beginning when it happened, I was taking care about her, driving to the doctors 3 times a week because we tried to save her eye. So all my time was full with work and Aloha, going to the doctors. But one day I remember that I was thinking about, and I asked her, why did you do this to me? Why did you do this for me? What do you want to show me? Why did you take this pain instead of me? Why? What was it? What was it? Because it was the second time. The first time when she was a puppy 8 months ago, she was eating some poison, and the doctor said she will die. She will die. There's no chance, but she came back, and because I told her, "Hey, I'm waiting for you. I pick you up in 4 or 5 days. I'm back," and she recovered. And the doctor said it's a miracle. So we have a very, very deep bond. And I was thinking about why has it done it instead of me? Yeah. What is my learning, or what is the thing? And yeah, it's interesting.
What did you come up with?
It's just an interpretation. I'm not a specialist.
No, that's okay.
I did never talk to anyone to this, but I found out, I was, with the past, what happened to me with my career, I was a very outgoing person, very in the material world. It's all about success, making money, having fun, having joy. And I was not a person who was very reflective or stuff like that. Even when I was practicing yoga, but I did it just to be fit for the business. And for me, it was a kind of like I am blind on one eye, not 100% blind, but I'm blind on one eye. I don't see the whole thing. I don't see the whole Roland. I only see the Roland who is performing to get love and acknowledgement and attention. But I don't see the whole little boy in me that was suffering many, many years ago. And so this was a kind of healing for me too, and I'm reflecting about what's happening. It's my interpretation.
Wow, I love that. That's really deep. So did you present this to Aloha? Did you share that this was what the outcome was? I just wonder, was there any sense of understanding?
Yeah.
How about that?
I said to her, thank you for opening my eyes. Yeah.
Literally. How long ago was that? 2 years ago?
When it happened, it's going in April. In August, it's going to be 4 years already.
4 years.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I remember like it was yesterday. That's hard to believe.
In summer it's going to be 4 years.
And I got to meet her in person. I want to say it was last year, but I feel like it was 2 years ago. Was it last year?
It was last June, almost a year ago.
Almost a year ago. Where does the time go? I don't know. But, I think that's important what you just said, because you looked at, why is this happening for me? And I think a lot of times it's very difficult to do that, especially if we're in pain, especially if it's a painful thing. It's kind of like, well, I know you want me to learn something, but I can hardly function right now, let alone think about what the reason is. So you and I have talked about this a little bit, but you've done a lot of shadow work, and some people might not know what that is. And I've done a lot of work myself, but what does it mean to actually look at our shadows, to actually be open to where it is there's still places to learn? Because what I'm finding, Roland, is that in many areas of life, people are not open to learning. It's like, oh, I got to be a certain amount of years on this planet. I don't need to learn anything. There's nothing new. Everything is history. It repeats itself. It's all trends. What are your thoughts about that?
Very good question.
I'm really giving it to you today, aren't I?
That I'm a very open person and I'm a very transparent person. For me, it was also learning, so I'm not judging out people who don't reflect themselves, because I was the same in my younger ages. So I was always distracted by working and having fun and partying. And I think most people don't do shadow works because they don't feel the need of it, because they're so distracted by work, by sports, by taking trucks. They don't feel themselves. And I think to be open for shadow work, there are two things. First of all, there must be a negative event where you say that can be changed. Maybe you lose your job, your beloved ones, or you lose your health or something. So most of the time it's a negative event when people start thinking about it and start working about themselves and starting feeling themselves and going through this pain and this negative event. Or it can come by, like it was with me, is when I was alone and really alone, because most people know I was always in a long-term relationship, and then I was really alone, and I gave up my house, and I was single and traveling alone in my motorhome just by myself, and this gave me a lot of time to stay in silence, and I did not listen to radio or TV or anything. So I was standing this loneliness. Novel said this. Yeah, this loneliness and standing this silence, there was no distraction, no noise around me for days and days and days. And then all these things came up. Yeah. And I think the foundation is that people have to be really silent and sit in silence or stand or walk or whatever without any distraction. And then it can happen. But it's never happening when you're in a noisy environment, when you're distracted by whatever you're doing, And I was always distracted, I was working like crazy. If I didn't work on vacation, I was playing golf or running marathons or stuff like that, or partying like crazy. So I never gave myself the time of being just silent. Never, ever. Because I think that unconsciously, I was so afraid what could happen in the silence. And I think that most people are unconsciously know that something would happen if they stay silent, and that's why we always distract ourselves. That's my personal experience, and I also see it from other persons who are very intelligent, who are very successful in business, what they're doing, but there's all this avoidance, always avoiding to look deeper and really know themselves. And for me, it was quite a journey, to give away all my material stuff, this large house, this, all these cars, the business, my performance, all my achievement, what is left over. And for me, it's not because I've done it, many people have done it. I think that's the bravest thing you can do in your life, is just do your shadow work and stay in silence and wait what's coming up. And when it's coming up, stay in this emotion, And I had the advantage and the luck, a very good friend of mine, that he helped me through. He's not a therapist at all, he's just a friend. I coach him in a different part, he coaches me there. And always when something came up, and I was always trying to run away and change the topic. I said, okay, I have to do this. I tell you, this was yesterday. I said, no, stay, don't run away, stay. And luckily for that, I guess it took me almost a year. And he always said, stay in this emotion, stay, because I tried to run away also. But I'm so happy that he was with me this time and really give me the chance to know myself much better. But it's a process, and I understand people. I'm not judging them. I understand people. It's really fearful what's going up. I don't know how your experience was, but mine was really Lord.
No, I really appreciate you sharing that. And when I met you, you were on the island of Mallorca. You were running yoga retreats. That's when I first met you. And I remember all the animals were coming through your home as we were talking. It was pretty cool. And I really admired the fact that you gave it all up and you just decided to go on the road, and you're still on the road. You completely changed your lifestyle 1,000%. I think one of the other things is many times we'll do whatever it takes so we don't have to sit in the silence. And to me, when I drive, I typically am not listening to anything. I'm just listening to my thoughts. I'm observing what's going on. But you can look in one car, another car, somebody next to you, and you see someone, fixing their hair, someone scrolling while they're driving. And it's the same thing at the gym. So I will get there early and I'll just start walking on the treadmill, and there's nothing to look. There's nothing on the screen except how many minutes it's going. And there's nothing on the screen above it except the fact that the different classes that they run. And people will come and they'll have their phone. People take the phone right into the bathroom. I'm like, why are you bringing your phone into the bathroom? I have no phone with me. I'm just going to be present and see what comes up for me as I'm asking my body to function at a different level. But I noticed that most people are not able to do that. It's even when you go to a restaurant or you're in a public domain and you see people sitting across from each other and they all have their phones out. It's like, no, this is an opportunity. You made a decision to get together. Why are you not having a conversation? But it's the distraction that there's apparently something going on your phone that's more interesting. But the reality is it's just so you don't have to engage, because if you have to show up at the highest level, that requires work. And to do that, you might have to be aware of your own behavior. You might actually have to listen to what someone else is saying.
Yeah, 100%. I guess it's one thing that most people don't know how to listen. And I know, especially, and I say this to men because most, I guess it's men are suffering there, because men always believe, especially in a relationship. And I tell my own experience years ago, when my wife said something to me, she came home with a problem from her business, I always tried to fix it. I always thought, okay, I should fix it or bring a solution, but it's not. It's just about listening. And but we are trained always to bring a solution. Yeah, but I'm not a problem thinker. I'm a solution thinker, but it's on one way positive, but in a relationship, it's not very helpful, to be honest.
Well,
it's not what I'm asked. Sorry.
No, something that was brought up in one of our other shows. We were talking about feminine energy, masculine energy, and one of our guests happened to mention the fact that men have to feel needed. They need to know that a woman needs them for something. So if you are an independent woman, if you have financial means, if you pretty much seem like you have it all together, what is the role that a man's supposed to play? And so I think that could be a whole other show. Maybe that could be a series of shows and topics. But isn't it really important that each of us, regardless of what our gender is, what our role is, that we are confident in and of ourselves, that we feel like whatever it is we're bringing to the table, there is value, as opposed to trying to fix something and plug and play various solutions for someone else.
Yes, I strongly believe, I would say, happy alone, fulfilled together. I think, and no, again, I was the same in my past, that I always thought that my partner, she's responsible that I feel good and happy, but it's not. So this was a learning process for me. And, I'm in a new relationship, and it's a total different league, We are both very independent persons. We both did our shadow work. We always actually, we had this conversation. She's in Italy right now. We had this conversation last night when we both said, I said, I don't need you, I want you. And she said the same, yeah, I don't need you, but I want you. And that's quite a difference, you know. You want somebody, it's not about you need somebody, so you need somebody. I think this is so important in a relationship, and that's why I'm building up a new coaching content and think about helping couples, to learn that you don't need the other person. It's about if you want the other person or not. It's not a need, not being needed. But I think for this, we really all have to do our shadow work and go through this, what we have been talking before, and then it's really making a difference. And I always say, what you mentioned, Dr. Jacalyn, is that men said, yeah, we want to be needed, we want to take care about the little girl, even when we're now 50s or 60s. And I said to her, I don't want a princess on my side, I want a queen on my side. Yeah. And that's a different, meaning you don't need me, but we go together. I keep the space for you, that you can live your feminine side or to the fullest when you're back home, and do your more masculine side when you're in business. And that's my job. But it's not about dependency, or especially not emotional dependency, because emotional dependency always leads to a toxic relationship, and that's not really good.
Absolutely. But Roland, who is it out there that you want to appeal to in terms of the value you can bring, and how does that work?
Oh, okay. Quick question. Well, actually, from my past, I'm still working with companies who need training in sales or in management. That's one point. But to be honest, I'm focusing more on individuals who really want to live a fulfilled life, especially a fulfilled relationship. It's not on my website, this one, but this is my website that I'm used for since 2020. My business website, Roland Frield, and from there you can link to different areas. But the future is that I want to work more with couples who want to have a fulfilled partnership, and bringing back intimacy into life. That's what my goal is for the next years. And by the way, I'm writing a book about this. It's almost finished. So yeah, I want to focus more on couples to have a happy, fulfilled relationship, not depending on each other, but really wanting them each other and have a good time together. And people who want to reach out to me, best way is email me, office at my name, rolandfriedl.com. That's the best way to communicate with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Roland. And if you can just share, you are hosting your own TV shows here, as well as another one with me. Tell our audience more, please.
Yeah, of course. First of all, I'm very happy to be part of the USA Global TV and Radio family. And I started here 5 years ago. My God, time is running. Hundreds and hundreds of shows. And I started with the Mallorca Connection and other shows. But we do this unscripted once in a while together. And one of my favorite shows is what's coming up in, what time it is? In 2 hours. A little bit more than 2 hours. It's Your Healthy Lifestyle, together with you, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, because I'm very into health and fitness, because that's my number one thing is healthy. I want to be healthy and fit. And then it's about relationship, and then it's about business, because without health and fitness, you cannot perform to the fullest, and you cannot enjoy the life to the fullest. So we do It's Your Healthy Lifestyle on Tuesdays on noon Eastern Time, or here in Europe at 6 p.m. Central European Time. And then I do German shows. That's the Macher Talk at 7 p.m. Not this week, but next week again, 7 p.m. Central European Time. It's in German, the Macher Talk. And then there's the Mutmacher Talk. Sounds a little bit similar, but it's a totally different topic. At 8 p.m. Central European Time. So 2 German shows. And yeah, that's about it.
All right. Thank you very much. I really appreciate having you here today on Dr. Jacalyn Unscripted, and we will see you again for our next episode.
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. Thanks to our audience. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you to each and every one of you who are watching, whether it's live or on the replay, or maybe you're listening on an audio platform later. Please do consider joining us on our community on YouTube, which is USA Global TV and Radio, where we've earned the YouTube Silver Creator Award. And we're actively working on it on our second channel, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. So please do subscribe. Are you interested in hosting your own TV show? Do you have what it takes to capture audience attention? Let's find out. Take a look at this video about what's involved, and we'd love to hear from you. You can reach out to me directly, and my contact information is in the show notes, but you can reach out to info, I-N-F-O, at usaglobaltv.com.
Hey, you. Psst. Yes, you. Watching this right now. Are you creating content, a blog, a podcast, a newsletter, going live on Instagram or TikTok, and still not seeing real visibility or growth? Here's why. Anyone can post, anyone can go live, but not everyone is positioned to be taken seriously. Right now, people are going to YouTube to search for experts, for answers, for credibility. So while you're putting in the work, someone else is being seen as the authority. Not because they know more, because they're positioned better. Now imagine this, your own professionally produced TV show, marketed, distributed, optimized with SEO so people can actually find you. Not just seen, but searchable, discoverable, positioned. You're trained, you're coached, you're guided. No experience necessary, but you do have to be coachable, because this is about stepping into a higher level. This isn't about doing more. It's about doing it right. We've already built the platform, 2 YouTube channels, a global audience, a Silver Creator Award. So the question is, how much longer are you going to rely on temporary visibility when you could be building real authority? If you're ready to be seen differently, go to usaglobaltv.com and apply to host your own show. This is for individuals who are serious about investing in their visibility, their credibility, and their growth. If that's you, we're ready. USA Global TV and Radio, where your voice becomes your platform. Executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Videographer, Paul Garcia. Voiceover, Ed Vargas. All rights reserved. This production is the exclusive property of the USA Global TV and Radio and may not be reproduced, distributed, or used without written permission.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/usaglobaltv. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.